to our first main event of the season. We're so excited. We're really pumped about this new series format, our new time frame, and a lot of great presenters that you're going to hear from throughout our time together. So, as always, we really encourage side conversations in the chat or just being unmuted and being able to share out. We do record our sessions. So if you are comfortable with that, we love to have your video off so that we can see you and communicate as if we're all in the same space and build our community of learning. But if you are uncomfortable with that, as always, just keep your camera off and feel comfortable how you do. If you could in the chat, we always like to kind of get a feel for who's in our session today. So quickly just drop your name, where you are working or what organization you're working with, and what has inspired you to join us today. I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that just so we can add it, read it, and kind of get a feel for who's with us. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us. We're really excited to have you. We are going to get started. We have some great educators here to listen to and learn from. As always, I kind of like to start us off by building a brave space. This kind of speaks to the struggle of creating safety in a virtual environment, but recognizes the humanness in all of us and the need for individuality and a collective responsibility to take care of one another. So I always ask that you come in a brave way by being present. I am a preschool teacher. I've just started the school year. I recently sprained my ankle. So there's a lot. I have a new puppy. There's a lot going on. But I am going to take this hour just to kind of be present in the moment because I never know where I'm going to get that little nugget of information that I can take with me. In our brave space, I ask that you be open. Again, you're not sure who or where you're going to get that little nugget to take away with and to engage. And I kind of, from the previous slide, whether that's engaging through the text thread or if that's engaging by unmuting and speaking out into the community, we would love all of that participation in whatever way that makes you feel brave. We are going to start quickly with a warm-up activity to get our brains kind of ready and going. This activity is called Circle of Viewpoints. I'm going to use a piece of artwork here by Keith Haring. It's a mural in Philadelphia that he created. I'm going to put some sentence stems in the chat for you. My computer's all switched around here. Okay. So for this activity, basically we're helping to explore and see multiple perspectives. So you're going to notice a lot going on this mural. And we're going to try to just find different ways to connect around the same thing. And I was thinking, since it is the beginning of the year, to kind of view it from where you're at in your school year and how you're feeling as you start your school year. So here are our sentence stems. I'm thinking of blank from the viewpoint of blank. So you could describe to us which character in this mural you're looking at and what you think they're thinking. You could just explain, I think, and tell us what's on your mind and how you connect with that particular image. And, or you could ask a question from that viewpoint. So I'm going to remove that so you can get a little bit of a better image of what we have here. And I'm going to give you again about 30 seconds of think time just to kind of take in the whole image. I want you to look closely at the corners, in the middle, down the sides, kind of take all of the little details and nuances in. And then I'm going to open us up for conversation. All right, I'm going to start us off. I am thinking of, from the viewpoint of this yellow character right here, mostly because that's the position I like to sleep in. I feel very exhausted as we start the beginning of the year. So I'm thinking that they're sleeping in this position. Who else would like to share out?
I can go ahead and share.
Sure.
I'm actually thinking, I don't have the prompts up. I guess I should pull those up really quick. Um, I am thinking about from the viewpoint of the character kind of in the middle, got all the different colors. And it looks like they are kind of holding up other people and supporting other people.
Great. In the chat, Cynthia mentioned, I'm thinking of a diverse student population from the viewpoint of a music teacher educator.
I see a lot of different enthusiasm, a lot of movement, kind of chaotic at the beginning of the school year, and that kind of everybody's going different directions, but yet they're still kind of focused all on the same thing.
Love that.
I find myself being drawn to the points of connection between the various characters. And I'm wondering about the little person that's sort of yellow in the lower left-hand quadrant, who looks a little surprised to be where they're at.
Yes.
So I'm going to be odd man out. I see confusion, chaos. The one poor guy in the upper left there from center got another guy's foot on his head, so he's really downtrodden. I see a lot of anger in this picture from the colors, from the movements.
Great. Any other thoughts?
So call my psychiatrist.
I'm thinking about the people at the top and like what happens up there. Are they seeing something different? Are they seeing freedom and liberation? Are they going to jump off and jump over? What's happening next for them?
Right.
I'm thinking from the perspective of the bodies that have so many different colors and shapes inside them. And it makes me think of how I wear so many different hats at work, but still need to be connected to everybody else.
Right. Wow. So just in this one image, we went from being tired and sleepy to seeing diversity in our students to wondering what's coming next, to, internalizing, I'm wearing multiple hats, I'm feeling a lot of things, and wondering if they're feeling the same ways. And so this is a great activity you can do with your students as well, in just a way of building that idea that multiple people can view and see things in multiple different ways, and to build that trust in your classroom that there's no wrong answer and that everybody's answers will be accepted and appreciated and reflected on. After listening to you guys, I kind of wanted to like rewind and rethink my own interpretation of the image and how I'm perceiving things, and maybe I should look at it a little bit different. So it kind of helps build that sense of community where I can throw out an idea, I can have some personal reflection based off of what I'm hearing from the group, I can respond again in a different way. So just a great, like, quick little activity that can be used across different curricula, whether it's history or literature that you're working with. And so that's just one that I really enjoy. And if it's new to you, great. If it's not new to you, I'm glad you're out there using that work. One of the reasons we want to build this community so bad is just because we really appreciate and benefit from teaching through the arts. I'm not going to read everything to you on this slide. I'm sure you are well aware of the great benefits of including arts in your curriculum. And if you are new to that world, welcome. And we hope that this is a space and an environment that can lift you up and empower you to keep trying more and taking more risks. We have some amazing people joining us today to share why they think arts integration is important and valuable. I'm going to introduce each one of these amazing people in just a moment, but I also kind of want to plug the rest of our series to you. If you have joined us in the past, we have held these meetings every month. And moving forward, they will be quarterly. So we will have 4 sessions, each of them breaking down a different dynamic of type of person in our field who is teaching through the arts and why they value and appreciate that. And we're hoping that with each session, we can kind of bring and invite new people to join us. And so that by the end of our series, we have a strong collaborative group of like-minded people who want to try new things, investigate arts integration, maybe partner with us as an ACE school to kind of get your foot in the door with some teaching artist work. And so we are starting with some professors in different universities across the state that will share why they are teaching this to their pre-service teachers, maybe share some of their favorite tips with us, and we'll have some time for questions at the end. So I'm going to introduce each one of them. And then for my professors on the call, we'll probably just go in this order. So we'll start with Wendy, move into Michael, and then end with Tara, and let them share their thoughts on arts integration, and we'll wrap up with questions and a reflection. So first up, we have Dr. Wendy Sims. She is Curator's Distinguished Teaching Professor of Music Education at the University of Missouri. Professor Sims received her bachelor's and master's degree in music education from Kent State University and her doctoral degree in music education from Florida State University. She's been a member of MU faculty since 1985. She's a specialist in early childhood and elementary music education, teaches a variety of undergraduate and graduate music education courses, advises bachelor and master's degree students, and supervises doctoral student programs and research. Previously, she taught K-6 general music and continues to volunteer weekly as a music teacher for preschool and toddler classrooms at MU's Child Development Laboratory. And she is the recipient of several prestigious teaching awards. So I'm going to pass it off to Wendy to share a little bit more about her background and the work that she's doing.
Thanks. You can find my bio online and read more about it. But one of the things that I'm an elementary music teacher and early childhood, especially at heart. And I think the idea of integration is so important in every level and starting in early childhood, because children see their world not as disconnected little boxes. They don't see their world, they don't start seeing their world as music happens at 9:40 to 10:30 on C days, or 10:30 Monday in this room I go to that's the music box. And so, you know, they start school and all of a sudden that's what music is often, and that's where they find music. And so from my perspective, I want kids to see music, and I'm a music person, so I'm going to focus on music, but all the arts as relevant to their life, not just in those little compartments that they end up getting put in. And so we have a class here, we have all of our elementary classroom teachers take a class on integrating music. And so I've been a strong proponent of that for a very long time. I've taught that course at some point. And so I do want to say that as a music educator, I don't think that any sort of integration, collaboration, whatever, while it's wonderful, that can't take the place of a sequential standard-based music curriculum. And so that's not our goal. We need elementary music teachers in the elementary schools. Of course, in early childhood settings, there's not likely to be a teacher unless you get someone like me who goes in there because I can't live without my kids every week. And so I have a long list. I don't want to take everybody's thunder, so I will maybe just say some that I think are more important and we can circle back. But music and the arts contribute to learning in the regular general classroom in so many ways, which is why we teach that. For some kids, it's a modality of expression that they can really relate to, that maybe they don't relate to other aspects, other ways to express themselves as well as they can through music. It's integrated related to so many content areas. Teaching about a particular culture without teaching about the musical events that go along with that is not even teaching about the culture. I mean, the arts are so integral to what students are learning, to what cultures, how cultures operate, and history of our society. Language arts and music go together incredibly. I mean, songs that kids are doing mostly during school are words, right? And so that's really important. Music is science. Science is music, the science of sound. And so there's so many natural connections that we want to be sure, though, that sometimes our elementary teachers aren't comfortable. They haven't thought about that. They think if they don't know the musical terms and language that they shouldn't teach that. And so we want them to be comfortable adding those music and including that music in there. As music in one's classroom increases the building community. And there's research that kids who have more music in their classrooms have more engagement in school. And there's even some research that kids with arts in their schools learn empathy and compassion. And so I think those are lots of reasons why it's really important to get teachers to be comfortable including the arts in their classrooms, to ensure them that even a little bit, and even they don't have to be musicians and music experts to do that, and to encourage them to work with the music specialists in their buildings to make those things happen. And there are ways to do that I will stop here, though, and let the other people chat, and we can come back to that if you'd like.
Muted. Thank you, Wendy. Yeah, I love how you're speaking to that collaboration piece. I think that's huge. As a general ed teacher, there's always this fear of like, I'm not a singer, I don't know what I'm doing. And that partnership with your music ed teacher is so invaluable, to be able to go up to them and say, hey, I've got this book, it's got some great rhythm to it, what can we do? Or, you know, do you notice some other musical element that I'm not noticing that we can add in? And so being able to build that connection with the people in your building is massive and huge. So thank you for pushing that and supporting that. Next up, we have Dr. Michael Smith, who is the E. Desmond Lee Endowed Professor of Music Education at the University of Missouri St. Louis. He directs the E. Desmond Lee Fine Arts Education Collaborative and teaches undergraduate and graduate courses in the music department. He is also the Director of Graduate Studies in Music Education and the Coordinator of Music Education. So Michael, thank you for being here.
Well, Lauren, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be amongst so many people who are interested in a topic that interests me, and of course, some esteemed colleagues. I appreciate the comments that Professor Sims has shared, and I resonate with so many of them. I jotted a few of them down quickly. I believe we both, Wendy, we both consider music to be part of a holistic approach to music and music education. The Every Student Succeeds Act, the one that knocked No Child Left Behind, which should be on the radar, everybody, because there's supposed to be money there for us, it says that music is a part of a well-rounded education, and we all know that. And we just need to embrace that. I'll say a little bit more about that in just a moment. I also appreciate when to use some of my favorite buzzwords: basic, comprehensive, and sequential. We can't get away from that. It's not just a glorified playground. Although we do pay attention to the fact that children do their work as play. So music and the arts, of course, provide a wonderful palette, if you will, or stage, whatever the metaphor might be, to create that opportunity for them to play and learn at the same time. A little of my background. I became engaged and interested in integrated arts back in my doctoral days when I was studying with the late Dr. Claire McCoy. If you don't know her work and her colleagues' works, oops, I misspelled. It's Janet Barrett. Sorry, I wrote too fast. I don't know, Wendy, is Janet still teaching? Is she retired at University of Illinois lately? I don't know, but they're
Yes.
all, is she still?
She retired a year ago.
I thought so. I thought so. She's a dear friend, and so is Claire and Kari. They wrote a book that was really formational for me. And I looked it up. It's still available on Amazon. It's called Sound Ways of Knowing. And they start with this holistic approach of how to approach integrating the arts, or in point of fact, paying attention to the fact that music is a whole part of life. In fact, I'll just cut to the chase. I believe that music is basic human behavior, and I'm not the only one who's come up with that. That's a well-known fact, actually. I've had some opportunities to work with. I spent a decade in Chicago teaching in the School of Music at DePaul University, and during that time was able to do some wonderful work with Chicago Symphony Orchestra, where we developed some integrated work, a learning center, actually. The motive was to sell more tickets. They discovered that they couldn't get people in the front door because they thought it wasn't for them. So we actually built this place around the corner on Adams and brought them into this curriculum, actually, that was a everyman kind of approach, looking at themes that everyone is familiar with. They may not think that they know about music, but they do know some themes that we work with as musicians, like team building. An orchestra is a team. Mapping and recording. Being able to follow a map. We had this huge map, the size of the city of Chicago, just about, and they were to figure out how to get a group of people from one place to another. One group by writing, one by oral. I'll go forward to, I spent another decade in Washington, D.C., where I worked on an IMLS grant we called Hear Art, See Music. The motive there was working with a special education colleague, where we were working with cross-modality approaches to helping differently abled populations access museum artifacts in a wonderful little private museum in Washington, D.C. called the Krieger Museum. I'm going to fast forward to my playground now. I have jumped around a bit in my career from place to place, and I was very attracted to this opportunity to work with in this position as the E. Desmond Lee Endowed Professor of Music Education. E. Desmond Lee was a very generous man and a man of vision. He created 35 endowed professorships across the University of Missouri St. Louis. We literally span the curriculums from the letter A to Z, architecture to zoology. I'm somewhere in the middle in music, and I have offered, brought in a group of fine arts partners, 26 of them, and 14 school districts that are all working to try and help provide opportunities for underserved populations. Lauren, would it be possible for me to share my screen?
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
The Normandy School District is actually the Normandy School Collaborative. They have some challenges with certification, and we came alongside them trying to find ways to help them find their way into, well, I'll get to that in a moment. The project was called The Big Bad Day. It was based on a children's book called The Real Story Behind the Three Little Pigs. These kids followed basically the old words music opera model and created a libretto using their own words. They set it to music using their own music. We employed an arranger to create an arrangement and orchestration. Opera Theater St. Louis, of course, provided all of the pieces that go together to put together the stage that you see right now. And you can see alive and well is integration with arts, language arts, music, you name it, social studies. This is a jury and a trial. We're trying to figure out what's really going on. The big bad wolf is he's been malaligned. He's not been the bad guy. These little three pigs are up to nonsense. And these little guys, the third graders from Jefferson Elementary School, really did a great job. You can kind of see down in the pit that the students from Normandy are accompanying, but they're being supported by members of the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, playing right along with them. Obviously, Opera Theater St. Louis did a great job of helping stage all this. We have a performing arts center, a beautiful Two Hill Performing Arts Center on campus, and we filled it twice with 1,600 people. And it was just one for kids and one for the community, and it was just a great time. Now, I skip over to this because this I want to just highlight is foundational to my thoughts about music integration. I think we sometimes think of it inside out rather than outside in. Music is a part of human behavior. It really is. A man named Alan Merriam back in the 60s was one of the first to identify functions of the way that music works in our lives. And I promise you that even kids and elementary teachers who don't think they can make music, if they're reminded in the style that Janet Barrett and Kari Veblen and Karen McCoy mentioned in Sound Ways of Knowing, you do make music. I like to start with the first of his Miriam's functions in music. Why do we have music in our lives? Because it gives us a physical response. I like to point out, as Garrison Keillor did once in one of his beautiful Prairie Home Companion stories, the first function of music, putting people to sleep. Everybody knows a lullaby, or we have there are songs that they know and they grew up with and they were comfortable with back in that time when they were playful and weren't afraid of administrators judging them. I can go through all the rest of these. I'm yammering on a bit, and I want to make sure we allow our others to speak as well. But I would highlight that the reason that we pulled the Normandy project together had to do with several pieces, and I'll start with the integration of society and a validation of a social institution. Normandy is struggling. Their sense of caparosity is pretty low, and they don't have many resources. But if we come around them and wrap them around with the resources that my collaborative can bring to them, then we can hit on some basic human needs that also hit basic human musical needs. Of course, there was emotional response, there was aesthetic enjoyment. Oh my gosh, the entertainment value of third graders performing their own little show was just fabulous. But really, we were starting out, Opera Theater St. Louis Symphony and I were thinking about how can we validate and lift up this struggling Normandy school district? And it goes back to this notion that it's basic human behavior. With that, I'll stop yammering and stop sharing my screen, and happy to hear from others. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. It was making me think when you were saying it's like human nature, how there's always those memes where it's like, I don't remember why I walked into the kitchen, but I can remember that jingle I heard 35 years ago. Like, it's just that it's so ingrained in our lives, which I think is great. And I also appreciate you sharing that experience about Normandy, because it just goes to show that, like, the power in that work. Like, those students are going to remember that experience and that moment, and the literacy they're getting out of that, the music they're learning from that, like all the pieces of that are such a rich educational environment for them. And, you know, what a great way to give an opportunity to a school that doesn't have what they need to teach their students. Well, I'm not saying that, but they don't have what they need in their environment. And if we can just integrate the arts, how that uplifts their curriculum and their environment, like,
or if I just might reframe it just a little bit, not only integrate it, but just acknowledge that the arts are a part of their lives and it's a part of this community. Right. Brought them together in such a powerful way.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
I could just jump. Can I pick
sure.
it back? Because on the other people, it engages the parents, and often in low socioeconomic levels, parents who from diverse backgrounds or international people are intimidated by schools. Schools, you know, sitting down and talking about their kids' math might be intimidating, but bringing parents to schools to see their kids engaged in multi-curricular projects that include the arts makes that school a more welcoming and comfortable place for parents to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. Thank you. We have one more professor with us, and then we're going to open it up to just kind of talk through, ask questions, and reflect on, you know, what we've heard tonight. So we've got Dr. Kara Flachowski. Am I saying that right? Okay. She has spent the last 20 years as a writer and educator across the PK-20 spectrum. Currently, she serves as a visiting assistant professor in the Department of Teacher Education at Webster University. Her research interests are, oh my gosh, I'm struggling with words right now, guys, sorry. Her research interests are teacher diversity, critical race studies in education, critical research methodology, multicultural teacher education, mentoring, and school climate. She holds an MFA in writing from Sarah Lawrence College, an MA in Educational Leadership and Administration from California State University, Los Angeles, and a PhD in Teacher Education from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I'm going to stop talking because I am struggling, and I'm going to pass it off to you to share your work with us. Thanks, Tara.
Hi, Lauren. Thank you for that introduction. So the first decade of my career as an educator, I worked in Los Angeles Unified School District as a theater teacher, and I also taught design and media and visual arts, as well as English language arts. So I was both an arts teacher and a core content teacher. In my first few years as a teacher, I'm sure we all can remember that first year and the challenges that it brought us. One of my challenges were administrators from different angles telling me I was required to be in arts meetings and required to be in English language arts meetings literally at the same time. And even though they all knew this, they still just, that's what they required. And I think my entire career, it sort of resonated with me, that feeling of either or. And so hearing Michael and Wendy speak about the importance of arts, I think we've all lived that in different ways. And having arts instruction in addition to arts integrated instruction in core content areas is truly what the gold standard is and what we hope for all students. I've been a teacher educator for about a decade now. I came back here most recently from Hawaii, where I was working on Big Island at an independent school, and a teacher educator at the University of Hawaii, Manoa. And I had the opportunity to coach and work with arts instructors as well as with subject area teachers in history and math, science, and English language arts. A good part of my career has been supporting teachers new to interdisciplinary curriculum, collaborate and build interdisciplinary project-based curricula, and helping teachers who don't feel strong in the arts work through bringing arts as a regular part into their work as teachers. And I can tell by the way folks have introduced themselves that everybody has had experience doing that in one way or another. And I think for me, what I'd love to highlight is the work of collaborating with others, and especially encouraging new teachers to have collaborative partners, to seek out partnerships with arts teachers, and for arts teachers to seek out partnerships with academic only instructors, and being able to bridge what they're doing with one another and support and echo what one another is doing in their different curricular areas, I think brings the most benefit and comprehensive and cohesive learning experience to students. It also, the research tells us, helps sustain teachers in the profession when they have great partnerships with their peers and feel supported outside of just having lunch with somebody, but really feel supported in the work that they do. It makes a huge difference to the experience that new teachers have in classrooms. So I'm right now teaching arts and humanities methods to students, and we do arts and we do core curricular standards together. I think helping students make sense and create goals across those groups of standards that are shoved at them all day long is another key part of the work about making this work for teachers and feeling like the arts are learning and not an aside to the other learning that happens in their classrooms, I think are key. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to share and learn more about this group and learn more about everybody's work and help build our community up.
Great, thank you so much. I love what you said, the arts are learning, and then just echoing that, the importance of that partnership, and finding those connections in your building. And, you know, sometimes you're the first one, and that is challenging in itself, is to make that initial contact and to build that small cohort. I will plug our ACE program really quick because it feels very similar. We are able to support teachers who are interested in integrating the arts by bringing in teaching artists to support their work and help kind of train them. And we have noticed that a lot of it has been one teacher interested in inviting 2 or 3 peers to join the cohort, and then just seeing how much they get out of that experience, and then opening it up to more people the next year. So it really like starts small, but can really rapid fire grow. And so I love that I'm hearing from all of you that this, you know, partnership and collaboration is so key, to be able to have new teachers going out into our schools and looking for those experiences and opportunities is great. Does anybody have thoughts, questions, ideas that they want to share out? This is really kind of just a space to talk through things, and learn from one another. So we've heard some great things from our professors, and I would love to hear from the rest of our community too. I do have a follow-up question, but I'm going to practice wait time and let others share out. Wendy, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in and follow up on what Tara said too, is that, I mean, we teach our music education students that they should be integrating and reaching out to teachers, and they need to learn what's going on in the classroom so they can be collaborators as well. So, I mean, they don't get to teach a song without making sure the kids know the vocabulary and the words. And there's lots of songs that kids sing out there that they've sung for years, and they could not tell you what those words mean. And so, and they should be reaching out, they should be getting into classrooms. You know, they can see that, oh, on the 2nd grade curriculum, they're working on predicting and summarizing and making connections in literacy. Well, we can do that with songs too. And so it needs to run both ways. I think that we prepare arts teachers who are interested in collaborating and understand the value of collaborating, as well as we prepare the other classroom teachers. And so they have a mindset that we can approach each other and work together.
Yeah, great. Maggie, go ahead.
You know, I've worked a lot with arts integration in schools across the St. Louis area. And I've always stressed how, as an art teacher or a music teacher or as a drama coach, you need to be an ambassador for your work. Too many times the art teacher said, I feel like I'm alone down in the basement. Well, there's something that can be done about that. And we're working together, and you working with the classroom teachers and the administration are the ones that have to make this do. And don't wait for the teachers to come to you. You need to get out there and be a coach, an advocate, and just be persistent and positive.
If I could just quickly add and just be present. Don't eat your lunch down in the basement. Come up and join the crowd. Fridays are often there's often goodies on Fridays. You know, that's a good reason to come out of your
You're right.
Right. Go get those cookies. Absolutely. I noticed Phyllis had a question, so I'm going to share it to the group and then feel free to respond. But she was curious about the how each of you communicate to others the benefits of making those collaborative partners and encouraging that practice.
Oh, yeah, so I just shared a bit in the chat responding to Phyllis. If I'm understanding your question right, Phyllis, you're asking how do we help teachers have time for this? And I encourage them to actually visit other teachers' classrooms, both the arts teachers to visit, math and science and language and social science classrooms, but also to have our math and science and ELA and social science teachers visit the arts classrooms. And even though this isn't done a ton in lots of schools, administrators are usually actually pretty supportive of this practice. And if you let them know that you're very interested in doing this as part of your professional development, they'll often find ways to make it happen if your schedule feels challenging in ways that make that seem impossible. And then, after talking to the teacher about visiting their classroom, finding a time to meet and debrief and talk about what you saw and what made you excited and related to what you do with kids in your own classroom as well, and sort of to start organically from a place of positive appreciation about what each other is doing, and to go from there. And it's pretty unique to different contexts, like how that collaboration looks on the ground. And so I try not to be prescriptive about that, but encourage a mindset of curiosity and inquiry and conversation about the work.
If I could hop in again just a little bit, then I promise I won't talk so much. I promise. Maybe.
This is your time to shine.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Lovely, lovely. And learn to speak their language. You're going to reach out to them. You're going to be present to them, but you're also going to understand what's important to them. So, what I'm going to do. I'm going to quote my dear doctoral advisor, Dr. Paul Hack. I hope Wendy smiles. He was a scholar and a gentleman. I'm going to cry when I think about him because he was so kind and wonderful to me. Here's his premise for why we want to be paying attention to music. Music helps us to think more carefully. It helps us to feel more deeply, and it helps us to share more generously. Now put that in context. Let's talk to our STEM friends. If you can talk to them about how music helps us think more clearly, there's a lot of brain research that says that, the noggin ticks when music is engaged and they're engaged. So reach out and we struggle with STEAM, stream, but basically just understand that what's their motivation? What can we get on board with to help them? Music helps us feel more deeply. SEL is all over curriculum patterns these days. And if we're going to talk about social and emotional learning, then music needs to be a part of that. And then likewise, sharing more generously, as I shared with my Big Bad Day experience and others, it can build such wonderful community that speaks to administrators in the building who are trying to build school cultures that are capable of doing wonderful things that our society and culture expects us to do.
Absolutely. I was curious if you have any students that kind of struggle with that idea of like breaking down the silos. Like, what do you mean I can teach this, and this all together? Like, I have this block of time for reading and this block of time for music and this block of do you find that there's any struggle with that? And if so, how do you approach it? And on the opposite, if you're not finding that, how are those students anticipating and getting ready to go out into the world? I'm just curious.
I think our students are much more open than they used to be. I mean, one of the things for our music students we promote is audience education, and that they need to understand the music that they're performing, and they need to share that with the audience. And I mean, audience education talks about the historical and cultural context of the music, which is in effect integration, right? It's history, it's culture, sharing music with them. And our students can develop, I mean, they can start to see themselves as beyond pigeonholed into, you know, something that's got notes. I mean, we joke, we laugh and tease them that, you know, the notes on the page aren't music. Like that's nothing without the sound and the expression. And so I think that teachers, when they start to open up and broaden their perspective, feel creative, feel productive. Wow, I just remembered, I just taught those kids what puffer belly was today when we sang that song. And, you know, little starts that, wait, that's vocabulary, isn't it? And so helping them see connections, helping them get excited when they figure that out, when they can use their curiosity, when they figure out they know a lot of things. I mean, they've been in school a long time, right? And they've taken general education. And so starting little, starting, you know, with these little small aha moments, and that's pretty fun and pretty cool. So let's have some more aha moments and let's build those on. And they develop their confidence and talking to each other, working together.
That's
Here's
great.
something you can do.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say this is beyond the call of duty, because music teachers have their own curriculum. But what if I did this with some really tough Chicago public school teachers who were just not buying into this integrated arts, until I said, okay, give me your curriculum. Give me something you want me to teach using music. And I stood in front of their fourth grade class and I taught a lesson on tangrams. I didn't know what I was, you know, but I reached out, I made a lesson that they were wanting, and they saw it. And then they went and taught it, and I watched them teach it later. And it builds on itself. You just have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And then Sarah's adding modeling. Yeah. Oh,
can I ask a
go ahead.
question? Sorry,
Sure.
I might be asking the same question in a different sort of way, but I'm thinking about the pre-service teachers that I'm teaching now, and how they in their first years teaching might feel a little overwhelmed with starting these conversations with other teachers in their school. And I'm wondering if there is something like maybe tried and true, a place that they can start, and like maybe specific language that, and I know we mentioned maybe not trying to be prescriptive, but giving them some ideas of things that they could say to encourage other teachers in the classroom to even engage in this conversation, to get the ball rolling. If you have any suggestions on that.
That's really tricky. I mean, sometimes the other teachers, I remember asking teachers, and they felt so intimidated by the arts. I mean, we've done ourselves a disservice by making the arts out to be elite and special and something only artists can do. And so people feel intimidated by the artists more than we feel intimidated by their subjects, because again, we've been through school, right? We've taken these classes, but they don't feel competent. And so it's, I guess, being gentle and making some suggestions, and even asking for help, even if they don't need it. So boy, science teachers, you know, I'm teaching about the overtones to my brass players. And can we talk about how you teach that and what makes that easy, and finding ways that they can ask for help and connections for things that they might be teaching, to kind of get some of those relationships going that they might want to establish.
I particularly post-pandemic with my pre-service teachers, that the idea of talking to anyone is just met with all kinds of anxiety. And so I really appreciate, Casey, you asking us for more specific suggestions. And I think I would lean into what I tell them when they build relationships with students, and repeating some of what Wendy just said, to lean from a place like first of vulnerability. Hey, I'm new here and I'm like getting the lay of the land. And I think I just want to try to absorb everything from everyone. I'd love to bring more arts into my curriculum. Do you mind if I come see you teach? They're saying, you know, I've heard you're an awesome teacher and you do really amazing things. I would love to learn from you. Do you mind if I come observe a little bit? And so it comes from a place of appreciation and respect and learning. And that's very difficult for even the most jaded teacher to turn down. And if they do turn it down, it's probably good that they did, because that's probably not a teacher that's great for that new teacher to go see. So, yeah, like reminding them that we're adults too, and that the more connections you make, like I really try to drum this in, the more peer connections you make, especially with other teachers who are really positive about students, like that's going to make your life easier. And just really trying to get them out of their shell to do that. But I like the idea of some sentence stems to help them do that, because I think that's really needed at this time in our lives.
I'd echo what Wendy and Tara have said as well. Yeah, being vulnerable and and two things. First of all, seek to understand before being understood. You know, reach out and find out what you can learn from them. But I also, in the world of mentoring, talk about breaking down this thought that there is no more little red schoolhouse thinking. By that, my grandmother was taught in a one-room schoolhouse, and she was it. There was no one next door to her. But now we're teaching oftentimes as if we were in little one-room schoolhouses all the way down the hall, and people are really interested in opening their doors, I have found, and starting a conversation. And if you start with that place of, hey, I'm new here, I'm feeling interested in what you're doing, can you explain to me and help me? And it may not start with curriculum, by the way. It may start with where's the paper for the copy machine? You know, just finding ways to build a conversation that's real with real people.
And again, I'm going to plug us. We would love to build this space as a place that people can come. We might not be in the classroom next door, but hopefully building that brave space where people can come, ask questions, share a lesson that they did that maybe didn't go well, and we can kind of reflect on it. We really want to just build a collaborative network here, and encourage this kind of work and this kind of these conversations exactly. So thank you for asking that question. I'm going to share my screen again. We're kind of getting close to wrapping up here. It's hard when everything's flowing so well and you want to keep it going, but I am going to send a follow-up email. So if there's any information that was shared, I tried to write it down so I can kind of link it into the email for you to look back and reflect on. But another practice that I would love to kind of continue throughout our season is this reflection piece called the 3 whys. So if you have a piece of paper close by, or if you just can like split your computer screen and type some notes, I want you to just take a couple like quiet minutes. Think about what we talked about today, what we heard, questions that maybe are still in your mind, and respond to these 3 prompts. Why might this matter to me? Why might this matter to the people around me? And why might this matter to the world? So I'm going to give you just a couple quiet moments to reflect and jot that down. And then we'll see if we have a chance to share. We might be only be able to share 1 or 2 responses, but I also might let you just keep that close with you, and carry it into the next session too. So go ahead and take a minute or 2. I'll bring you back when we have about 10 seconds. I think just for the sake of time, if anybody's feeling brave enough to share a response to any of these, if you want to go ahead and just type it out in the chat, and then we can have a moment to look at it as I kind of continue to wrap things up here. Like I mentioned earlier, our new season is going to look a little bit different this year. So our next session won't be until November 4th. It'll be at 5:30 again. I do hope that you will share this with colleagues, friends, pre-service teachers you're working with, other professors you're working with. We are actually going to have a conversation with some administrators who value this work. And I think it's going to be a really important conversation, because a lot of times that's what gets in the way of us taking risks and trying new things is being told we have to do this, 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 and this. And so knowing that there are people out here who are encouraging and supporting the work as well, and maybe asking them, how do we navigate some of those more challenging conversations with our administrators? So we will have an administrator panel on November 4th at 5:30. It'll be virtual, the same as this, and the link to sign up will be in the on the website. I'm going to link it right now. So if you are like me and need to just do things right away, you can go ahead and do that. Continuing from last year, if you do need continuing ed certificate for joining, you can send me an email at lauren.hanahan@moaae.org, and I can send that to you so you can share that for work. And last but not least, we are always curious on your feedback and trying to make this the most valuable experience for everybody. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy life to join us and talk with us and reflect with us. And so I just want to say thank you so much to Wendy, Michael, and Tara for joining us and speaking and sharing your thoughts with us, and to all the other people that joined us. We appreciate having you here. I dropped a little link in the chat for a survey if you have a minute or two to fill that out, or you can send it another time, but we do read your feedback and try to make adjustments and changes accordingly. So that is all I have. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you on November 4th. Bye.
Thank you all so much for being here.
Yes, thanks everybody.